And good afternoon. This is Woody Collins with Congo Helping Hands, and this is another day of talking about the Congo. So, I am going to talk about what it is an advantage for living in the rural Congo. That's our topic for today. And remember, if you like these episodes, please like, subscribe, and share them with your friends so that they can also partake in this good information and also become closer with our brothers and sisters in the Congo. So let's talk about a little of background. In the Congo, you have only a few major cities. You got Kinshasa, the largest, and you got Lubumbashi, you got Kisangani, you got Kananga, you got Bujimai, Goma, Bandaka, and even say uh, Chakapa. So those kind of like are major cities, and those major cities would have somewhat a infrastructure so that you could have running water. You may have some electrical services, and you may also have some TV being broadcasted. But once you get out of those cities, just like here, and the broadcasting is not that far, you don't have any running water out in the villages, no electricity out in the villages and towns, and no TV out in the villages or towns. So therefore, in the Congo, you see a big migration of people leaving the villages, the rural areas and towns, uh, and they want to live closer to the city so that they can at least have some of these conveniences. And we're talking about conveniences. Also, um, these conveniences um, is very crowded. So you have to, trade off um, the problem of being isolated and having no utilities to the problem of being closer to town or in town, and it's very crowded, very densely populated. So, but the villages are really isolated. They're isolated mainly by roads. There's no interstates. There's no state highways. There's no county highways. There's no railroads that go from city to city. There's no bus lines that go from city to city. There's only a few airplanes that fly between the major cities that I just mentioned: Kinshasa, Lubumbashi, Kisangani, Kananga, Bujimai, Goma, Bandaka, and even Chakapa. And you can add in a few more places that have uh, air travel. And you can only travel by once or twice a week. There's no daily flights, and all of it is out of Kinshasa. And so they take people in and out of Kinshasa, um, and they usually may even do a milk run. So it's very isolated. The roads are bad, really bad, and it would take you forever to go a short distance of 150 miles. We used to go 150 miles into the countryside, and it would take us somewhere anywhere between 10 to 12 hours at the fastest. And most times it would take us somewhere around 15 to 19 hours to make that trip. Depends on what the weather was like and what the condition of the roads were. So there's an advantage, really, there's an advantage for living in the rural areas in spite of not having any utilities and things like that. The big thing is you have protection against infectious diseases. In order for a disease to make it to those locations, the person have to survive a long trip, a hard trip into those areas. And also because those areas are sparsely populated, even if they made it into infectious disease such as COVID 19 or Ebola, it would take a long time for it to circulate, or if it got people got infected, it wouldn't be a large number, typically not large numbers. Just like over in West Africa when the Ebola went on over there, there was 11,000 people killed. The Ebola, even the longest outbreak in the Congo over in the eastern area, it went over for over a year, and there was only somewhere about 2,000 people killed. So there's a lot of difference because those areas are sparsely populated. And even when the Ebola outbreak last year in the Western Congo, only a handful of people died because it was really in an isolated area. So you do have the advantage of if you are in a rural area, you have some protection against infectious diseases. And I guess that can go both ways. The cities have a barrier because in order to get from the rural areas or remote areas into the city, they have to fly. So therefore, if they control and test people when they fly from a rural area to the major city, if they do testing, making sure you wash your hands and checking your temperature and all that kind of stuff, you can you can keep it out of the city, but that has not happened with COVID-19 because a lot of it came in before people start realizing that there was such a problem, and now they've got adequate testing in where you're tested when you get to the airport. You're also tested before you leave so that you don't carry it out. So that's effective. We're here in the United States. You can jump in your car and you can drive uh, hundreds of thousands of miles to different places on a nice interstate within a matter of hours. Like I routinely drive, I think it's 1,100 miles down to Florida to visit my family. And I do that in like 17 hours. So I get up early one morning, take off, make it down there today. And so, but you can't do that in the Congo. If you wanted to drive that same distance, that would be 4 to 5 days driving time to do that. And so therefore, it's impossible. So there are some advantages both in Congo for living in a rural area. There's less likely chance if something breaks out in the city, you may not see it out in the countryside. However, if something breaks out in the countryside, there's also the chance it may not get to the city. We've had Ebola outbreaks out in the country near where we were at, and they didn't make it in because it's so hard to get in. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, and to let you know that is a lot of the thinking when people tell me, oh, we haven't had any cases of Ebola, come on over. And so at this point now I am thinking about going over. And so there'll be more to that in later days and weeks as I plan my trip back to the Congo. So take care. Happy Friday. And we will talk with you later. Remember, keep your mask on. Number two, wash your hands frequently and socially distance yourself, and we will be all right.